poppin', y'all? This is my soul and bleach. My name Bodie, and so I wanted to react to this because I I just saw this video. I haven't watched it yet, but it just came up, and I have schizoaffective disorder. So you know, I guess I'm gonna just label this, you know, person with schizoaffective disorder reacts to what schizoaffective disorder is. So, I'll be able to let you know if they're accurate in what they're talking about and if I experience the same things that they're talking about, stuff like that. But let's just get into the video.
Hi, Psych2Goers. So, we know you've heard of schizophrenia, but have you ever heard of schizoaffective disorder? Or have you ever met anyone who lives with schizoaffective disorder? It's not surprising if you haven't heard of it, as the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, reports only 0.3% of the US population, or 981,600
Wow.
people, will get it during their lifetimes. Before we begin, it's
0.3.
important to know that we're covering a mental illness that can cause serious consequences in the lives of the people affected by it. This means we'll briefly discuss depression and suicide, which may be triggering to some viewers. With that said, let's begin. What is schizoaffective disorder? The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual V, DSM-V, classifies schizoaffective disorder as a psychotic disorder with features of a mood disorder. This means, in addition to the classic symptoms of psychosis, such as hallucinations and delusions, the person who has schizoaffective disorder will also have symptoms of major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, persistent depressive disorder, cyclothymia, or seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. Although the National Center for Biotechnology Information, NCBI, reported 50% of people diagnosed with schizophrenia also struggle with some form of depression, a diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder means the person being diagnosed also experiences at least one of the following: hallucinations and delusions not caused by drugs or a medical condition for 2 or more weeks.
Yes, I definitely have that. I've had auditory hallucinations where are persistent, like I hear it all the time, and I also have had some other, I don't know if you would call it a visual hallucination, because like I can hallucinate visually if I close my eyes. Like if I close my eyes, I can see things happening like in my mind, right? But I've never hallucinated like visually, as in saying like I can see a clown and it's standing right there, right? Like I've never seen something with my eyes that isn't there, but I've definitely seen things like it's like if you were hallucinating with your imagination, right? Like right now, if I told you think of a red elephant, you might be able to see a red elephant in your head, but when it's a hallucination, you don't get to choose that. So it's like you're just walking around, and then in your mind, you're seeing a red elephant for no reason. Like there's no reason to even, try to see that, but it happens anyways. But yeah, it's accurate so far.
When they're not experiencing depression or mania. Mood disorder symptoms, usually depression or mania, for the majority of time when they are experiencing psychosis. Serious, disorganized, and catatonic behavior that isn't caused by drugs or a medical condition, and negative symptoms, which are reduced emotional expression or a lack of interest in reaching normal goals. So what's there to know about living with schizoaffective disorder? 1. There are 3 phases of psychosis. Psychosis, or an impaired relationship with reality that involves hallucinations, delusions, loss of motivation, and social withdrawal. Phase 1.
Yeah.
Prodrome. These are the early signs of psychosis. When someone is going through the prodrome phase, their life may start to feel a little uncomfortable or very disrupted, because this is the phase when they'll start to experience flashes of paranoia, problems concentrating, depression, insomnia, anxiety, and when they'll start pulling away from family and friends. Phase 2,
That has happened to me in the
acute.
past.
At this stage, the person with schizoaffective disorder will experience the most disruptive hallucinations, distressing delusions, and confused thinking. The person suffering with
Yeah.
schizoaffective disorder will feel completely removed from reality during the acute phase, which might look like a total fixation on religion, thinking others are out to get them, having voices tell them they're rotten people, talking to people
Whew.
or spirits that aren't there,
Yeah, man.
or thinking angels or demons are
Like I've literally had all the things that they've just, what's it called, mentioned. So I've been doing a lot better lately, but in the past, I've had voices that would judge me for not being religious. I've had hallucinations where something in my mind was sort of telling me that I was like the reincarnation of an angel named Azazel, and uh, that thing was weird because when you if you look into who Azazel is, like it's a really strange um, personality. Hold up, there's trucks passing by me. So it was kind of strange because they like, and on top of that, sometimes the hallucinations sort of suggest things, and then I fill in the blanks and end up believing something like a delusion. So the whole Azazel thing was complicated because I don't really believe in religion, so I don't believe that Azazel exists. But according to what I was seeing in my head and hearing in my head, like I was this, like Azazel was like a jinn. He's like a demon that was so morally like like intuitive. Like he was so good that God turned him into an angel. But then Azazel kept doing things that God didn't like teaching angels like knowledge about how to be good, and teaching humans like things that are bad and telling them not to do it. And uh, if you listen to the lore, he's like, mm, it's like some bad things happen because of him, but he was well intentioned. Like his intention was to do good things. So it was kind of weird because like the voices definitely want me to feel bad, but for some reason they chose the only like one of the only demons that are actually like really good. And this might just be an extrapolation in my mind saying, well, they're saying this, this, and this, then I must be that. And maybe the voices weren't really telling me that that's who I was. But I've had all of these symptoms and just absolute lost to religiosity. Like 7 years ago, like I went into a 9 month meditation where I did nothing but meditate, and I would only take very short breaks so that I can eat very little food. I was like eating very little amount of food, and I had it stuck in my mind that I was like possessed or something. So I would do these crazy fasts. Like my longest fast was like 35 days, I think, where I just didn't eat or drink anything but water. It was just only water for 35 days. And it didn't do anything. It didn't make things better or anything, but at the time I was convinced of these things. So you know, it was weird, and it was a crazy time in my life, and I'm really happy to say that it's behind me now.
calling to them. They're most likely to feel hopeless or isolated from the ones they love during this stage. In phase 3, recovery. This final stage is when the person struggling with schizoaffective disorder actually starts to see the light at the end of the tunnel. With the proper intervention and treatment, many people who have a psychotic break may never have another psychotic episode in their lives.
Mm.
How having symptoms of a mood disorder impacts living with psychosis.
And this is true because the medications that I got put on to suppress all of the schizoaffective disorder actually worked very well, and it helped me a lot. Unfortunately, I lived a very large portion of my life not knowing that I had this and just thinking that this was the normal way people like the norm like a normal thing. right? So it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, but luckily, I think it was like 2 to 3 years ago. I ended up having such bad symptoms that I had to go to the hospital, and from there, as I was talking to psychologists, and in the beginning I was scared to mention certain things, so I wouldn't even mention that I heard voices. So my psychologist thought that I had bipolar, but then eventually I became a little braver, and I was like, you know what, like, to be honest, I am experiencing this. I hear voices, and then they were like, oh, like, no wonder. Okay, so you have schizoaffective disorder, and they put me on uh, an antipsychotic called Latuda, and that stuff really helped me out. And then eventually, I got another thing on top of that. What was it called? Clozapine, something like that. It was another antipsychotic though, but yeah, it was pretty dope being able to just take a medication and literally like 70% of the crazy stuff happening in my head just like sort of vanished. And unfortunately I still have the other 30%, so I still experience certain things, but it is what it is. We can't choose everything in life.
When you suffer from psychosis, it can feel like your head is in a haunted house and you're trapped inside with dozens of unpredictable ghosts.
Yeah.
But schizoaffective disorder is different from other psychotic disorders because it means the individual living with it also has the symptoms of a mood disorder. How does that change things?
Yeah.
The National Institute of Health, NIH, reports that schizoaffective disorder creates extreme shifts in behavior, mood, and energy. What type of shifts depends on which of the two types of schizoaffective disorders the person has been diagnosed with:
Hmm.
bipolar and depressive. Schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type, presents with manic episodes and depressive episodes. Someone living with this type of schizoaffective disorder will experience dramatic highs or mania, as well as episodes of deep depression. Signs of mania include increased energy or hyperactivity, irritability, increased grandeur, insomnia, and reckless behavior. This might present as snapping.
I definitely have more the depressive side. I don't like I've had sort of some sort of mania symptoms in the past, but it's never been positive. Like, I've never like thought I was Jesus or anything, and and that's weird to say because I just said that like there was a time where the voices were trying to convince me that I was this like demon or something. So it was weird. I'm sure I probably don't even remember. I'm sure that I was suffering from mania before I took the medications, and I probably did think some crazy shit like I was Jesus or something. But it is what it is. Like, it's really hard to pinpoint stuff because my mind is so different from the way it was in the past when I was not on medication. So, I'm really things are pretty different now. Like, and it's hard for me to remember a lot of the stuff that happened before 2017, like 2017 and back. Like, it's all a blur. It was really a blur. But let's keep going.
At others, being unable to sit still, believing one is a supernatural figure or famous, and spending money that they don't have. During a manic phase, the person suffering is more vulnerable to delusion and reckless behavior, which intensifies the effects of psychosis. Schizoaffective disorder, depressive type, presents as psychosis with depressive episodes, but no mania. The depressive episodes often present as feelings of hopelessness, decreased ability to function, low energy, problems concentrating, and possibly decreased hygiene.
Yeah.
The added challenge of mood disorder symptoms makes individuals living with either type of schizoaffective disorder more vulnerable to isolation due to pushing others away with their mood swings and deep depressions. This also means they're more vulnerable to
all,
substance abuse and suicide.
all of this on point. And the substance abuse too. Um, when I was suffering from all these things, I would drink like a madman, and I would smoke literally. I was smoking like maybe like an eighth of marijuana a day, so like 3 grams, point 5 every single day, uh, which would be like, I don't know, like 6, 7 joints a day, plus my 3 to 6 beers, plus anything else I can get my hand off. Like I became addicted to like Xanax for like a couple of months, but one day I took a little too much, and like I was like stumbling and tripping, and like I had to call somebody because I didn't know if I was like overdosing or what the hell. And um, like I was calling like some sort of hotline, um, and something happened and the phone cut off, and they, like, I guess they supposed that I might be overdosing, so they just sent cops to my house, and then they took me to the hospital to get some tests done to see like how bad it is, and it wasn't that bad, but it was still bad enough to like make me not be able to function correctly, and I was just like out of it. And then ever since that happened, like it was a pretty big scare, so I completely ruled out what's it called, Xanax. I stopped using it, and instead I started buying something called pearl powder. And pearl powder is like very calming, and also ashwagandha root. And like I believe in Western medicine, but I also think that there are some uh, like natural substances that are beneficial for anxiety and all of the craziness. So the ashwagandha, the pearl powder, a couple of things like vermilion root. Like I was just I'm taking a lot of natural things that are good for anxiety. But let's keep going.
Suicidal thoughts than the rest of the population.
Oh yeah,
How living with schizoaffective
so many
disorder
suicidal
affects your
thoughts,
daily
but
life.
luckily I'm a little better.
According to the Department of Veterans Affairs, the negative behavioral symptoms of schizoaffective disorder, such as feelings of apathy, feeling little or no pleasure in doing anything, also known as anhedonia, or seeming to not react to things in their environment, also known as blunted affect, or difficulty paying attention.
Oh, I definitely have this. Like I don't know if it's healthy. It's probably not a healthy thing to do, but I've definitely like just, it's like, imagine if my brain was a computer, and I was like, oh, this area where all the emotions are, like that shit's messing with me, and it's making things really hard, so I'm gonna just disconnect it and take it out. And then ever since, I just, like, I don't really feel anything. This part of the reason why I do my YouTube, because I like reacting to things that make me feel, because like I sort of blocked that out. So now, like, people will say like super offensive things, and I'll be like, oh, that's not nice. Like, okay. And like I don't get triggered. Like I think it's like impossible for me to get triggered, unless like I'm intending to be, a little more uh, loud than usual, right? But like for the sake of a reaction or something. But like, ah, this thing is so on point with everything.
Create the most dramatic effects on the person diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder's life. For example, a girlfriend of someone with schizoaffective disorder may feel hurt or confused when her partner doesn't react with excitement when they tell them about a recent promotion at work. Or the boss of someone with schizoaffective disorder might get frustrated with their employee for their constant tardiness or disorganization. Although the person struggling with schizoaffective disorder probably wants
That's one of the like worst parts of schizoaffective disorder, is that even when you're doing 100% good, like you're on top of it, like everything is going good, like it's still really hard to do normal things. Like it's so hard for me to keep a job, because like when I'm there, I just feel like dead inside. So like I've been trying to find the right type of job for me so that I'm able to be like happy while I work. But it's really difficult, and I'm probably never going to be able to work at the same capacity that normal people uh, do. So yeah, it is a pretty difficult thing, and it makes you very, very poor.
Wants to be part of a healthy relationship and most likely wants to be productive. Sometimes their symptoms make this impossible. This can lead to increased feelings of not feeling good enough, loneliness, and social isolation.
Yeah.
These feelings can ultimately make depressive episodes worse. Living with schizoaffective disorder can be frustrating and challenging. Thankfully, many people have successfully managed the symptoms of this somewhat rare disorder. The NCBI reported most people who successfully manage their schizoaffective symptoms typically use a combination of life skills trainings, therapy, and medications. Did you find this video insightful? If so,
Yes.
feel free to share it with someone who would too. As always, any information provided here is for educational purposes only. If you need mental health counseling or treatment, please reach out to a mental health professional.
All right. So that was that video, and I gotta say they did a pretty good job. The majority of the stuff that they mentioned is stuff that happens to me or has happened to me in the past. A lot of the things that they mentioned are things that I still have to deal with even today. So it's pretty bad. Like schizoaffective is very difficult, and especially for me because I have to deal with my schizoaffective, but then I also have to deal with my mother's schizophrenia. So like I think that I like it's kind of pretty clear that it was genetic. Like she had schizophrenia and it passed on to me, and my situation compounded on itself because I also had bipolar, and when you mix schizophrenia and bipolar you get schizoaffective disorder. So yeah, like there's some crazy stuff, like but at the end of the day, like you can't really complain. Like life is short. Just you're better off just finding the way to fix the problems you have and then marching forward and doing whatever it is you got to do to stay happy and um, uh, to stay active and just to have fun with life. Like because like I don't know, but the depressive stuff, like it can really play a toll, like put a toll on you. So I think you're better off trying to fight it and doing what you got to do to have a good life. But all right, that was enough of this video. I'm gonna try to do more reactions about schizoaffective disorder to talk about how I live with it and the symptoms that I have and all of that kind of stuff. We'll keep talking about this in the future. So if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, the bell, leave a comment if you have any questions about schizoaffective disorder. Um, I'm willing to answer them, make a video, so on. So let me know how y'all feel about this, and we'll talk on the flip side.